This conference will now be recorded.
Holy crap. It just spoke to me. I did not expect that to happen. But anyway, I am live streaming right now, which is something that I never really do. But this is for school, and I need to find the button that. Ooh, I found the button. Ooh, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna post this on my YouTube channel. So I'm talking to people in the future currently. So I'm just waiting for some of my classmates or somebody else who might want to join to get in, and then I will start because right now we got nothing. I'm the only one here, but this is going to be an interesting stream. So you can probably skip forward a couple of minutes if you're watching this on YouTube, but since it's live currently, you have no choice but to watch. I think I might post on Facebook that I am streaming because I've never done this before. I'm doing a kind of live stream teaching about painting today, right this very second. You can join if you do so desire at this link here. That is the link. Awesome. I'll also post it on my other page. Because why not? I also really I hope that there's a way that I can see you guys reacting, like saying things while I'm streaming. Because if not, then I don't know how this is going to work. Like, is there a chat? There is a chat! Hi. Guys, there's a chat. Okay, but it's now 3 o'clock, so I'm going to start my stream even though no one's here yet, because that's what my job is currently. Where is my presentation? Okay, away from the current slide. And then I need to get screen, share screen. There. I don't know if you can see me, but you can see my screen. So, can I hide this for me or something? Then what happens if I push this? No! Okay. Can I? There we go. Okay, so miniature painting. This is a stream about how I personally will be painting each and every mini that I do. I have some examples in there, and I might bring out some examples from what I'm doing currently, but this is just my step-by-step on what I do. This is all just my ideas of what you can do. If you have better suggestions, let me know, I guess, but if you don't, then here you go if you're just starting out. So miniature painting. So the steps that I have, there's zenithal highlights and priming, or just priming, base colors, washes, highlights, finishing touches, and then basing. Zenithal highlights is something Zenithal highlights are something that you can do as an option when you first get a mini. You can take your mini and then you buy black and white or gray primer, and you prime it all in black, and then you put the primer right above the mini and then spray down. I just realized that it's right here. See? So it's something that you can do. Stop making noise, computer. It's something that you can do that can have some different things. I've written down some pros and cons here. So the pros are it will help you with your highlights so that you know exactly where the light will be cascading upon the miniature when you're actually highlighting. And multiple layers of primer will always help you have the paint stick better, which is very good because sometimes I have some paints that don't stick very well to minis, and there's nothing more frustrating than that. But there are some cons as well because zenithal highlights are next to impossible to see once it's painted unless you have very thin paints. And if you do, that would be fine. But if you don't, then the zenithal highlights will pretty much just be a waste of time like they were for my miniature here. Because that Doctor Strange, that did not look anything like that. Also, zenithal highlights are more expensive because you'll need to buy 2 cans of primer instead of 1. And they're more time consuming as you have to wait for 2 different sets of primer to dry. Now, I know a lot of people do this. I personally don't because I don't like it. But that's just something that I will do. That's just, again, that's just how I do things. Anyway, step 1, the base colors. So When you're making a miniature, you don't need to know everything about it before you start. That's the last thing on my list. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. I'm going to say it in the list of the order that I've written it down. Find all the colors that you need. Look at your miniature and think about what it would look like, approximately. And then find the different colors that you have in your paint collection that might go with it, and then see what might go where. Start with some part of your mini and then just go from that. Like for the steampunk dragon right on top there, I decided to start with the wings because they're pretty. So I chose browns and weird shades of oranges and browns, and I was like, okay, this is a good place to start. So that's what you do. And if you don't have the color that you need for that specific area, you can always mix. Mixing is so nice. It makes everything so much better. It's lovely. For this first step, you are going to want to fill in every single area of white on the miniature there is, except the base. So when you're done step one, you don't want to see anything in your miniature unpainted, because then you'll just forget about it later and it's not good. So you'll just want to do a bunch of once-overs. A lot of the miniatures are strangely formed so that you have to like look like on the inside of the legs, or if their arm is blocking a part of their chest, that's a big problem for that. But you'll want to look around, see if there's anything that you missed. Mistakes in this section are okay, because you're going to make a lot of them. Trust me, you're never going to paint a mini perfectly. It's never going to happen. Usually mistakes happen in the highlighting phase, but a lot of them happen during base colors. So if you make a base color and then you cover one area and then you do another one that's smaller over top of it and you accidentally get it on top of the area you already covered, it's fine. Just repaint over it. It's fine. It doesn't matter. And if you make smaller mistakes on areas that are very, very small, then you could even just, if you're lazy like me, you could just not fix them. And then the other layers later will fix that as well. The last thing on my list, you don't need to know everything about it before you start. You don't need to see exactly how this is going to look when it's done. That isn't something that's required. It's okay if you just go, because that's always what I do. I never know what things are going to look like. I get a mini and I'm like, oh, that's a cool mini. What's that going to look like? And then I paint it like bright teal or something stupid. Step 2, washes. Washes are so nice. They're so good, because washes are like the first step of highlights, where they fill in all the recesses with a darker color so that you won't have to do an extra layer of highlights. They give you more depth. They make you see a lot more of the detail of the mini. It's so lovely. I love washes. So washes, they come in many different colors. You can get just plain old darks wash. There's a strong tone, which is more brown, which is good for leathers. There's Citadel has some weird named ones that are like, what are they called? Like, I don't remember, but they come in a lot of different colors. There's browns, there's blues, there's greens. You can even make your own if you have a unique color. All you have to do is just water down a paint a whole lot and you have your own wash. For washes, you don't need to be careful at all. If it's okay, look at Captain America here. For him, for me specifically, I used a strong tone on his face, like just the skin of his face, and on the white and red parts on his stomach, and then I used a nice dark blue tone for the rest of the body. That's something that I chose to do. I also use strong tone on the brown parts. That's something where you need to be careful. You don't want you don't want your washes to mix, because then that'll cause some colors that you don't want to happen. It's not very good. It's happened before. It's not good. So washes, you don't need them to be very heavy. You get them, you put your brush in the wash, you wipe it off a little bit, and then you just stroke it along the mini and make it look very nice. And it looks so good. It looks very nice. Just, if you want it to be darker, you can just slather your mini in a wash if you want it to have extreme lights. But typically you're going to want it to be pretty light. You'll notice that because when you have any paints or any washes, you'll want to shake the bottle and then immediately cover it up. So the washes usually get quite a few bubbles in them. You don't want bubbles on your mini. Bubbles on minis are not good. Bubbles on minis are bad. I don't like bubbles on minis. No one does, because that makes it look funny, especially if it dries and there's a bubble on it. Oh, I hate that. It's only happened like once or twice, but oh wow, I hate that. And some washes can cover multiple colors. Like I did for Captain America, I did like 6 different colors of washes. It's excessive. You can just use dark or strong all over it if you want. It doesn't matter. It all depends on how much effort you want to put into this, how much time you're willing to do, and how skillful, I guess, you are. I guess I would have to do with it. But it's all your opinion. That's all it is. I want to talk about this wing on the bottom here. That's another clockwork. That's a clockwork dragon again. It's the same browns. This is something that I actually discovered recently. I took a strong tone and I just washed it over the entire thing. That made it look very nice, as it always does. And then I just took it again and I just stippled it all over it. That gives it a gorgeous mottled leather look. You will love that because it looks real, and I love it. That's like my favorite thing about washes. Anyway, moving on. Step 3 is highlights. Highlights are arguably the most important part of a mini because it's one of the final steps and it makes everything look much more pretty. So, for each highlights, you're going to want to take the base color of the miniature you used, unless it was black or white, and then add a lighter version of that color to it. So my spectator here on the top, he was based in I think it was Screamer Pink. So I took, no, it was something else. I don't care. It was a pink color. It was a dark like magenta. So I took it out of the container, put it on the palette, and I took in a light pink and then put it in gradually, but extremely. I learned this recently that washes will go on highlights will go on very bright but dry very dark. So even if you think that your highlight is too bright, it's probably not bright enough, because I've noticed that gazer is one of my best works because I realized this rule. You need your highlights to be extreme because when things dry, they get a lot darker. So if you have red and then you add pink, you add a lot of pink, and that'll give it one level of highlight. You can go up to maybe 5, and every time you go up on a highlight, the area of highlight gets smaller and higher to the top. Hence zenithal highlights, because it shows you where it'll be. But excuse me, if you have something specific like object source lighting, that's later on the list. Anyway, if you based in black, more power to you. Honestly, I don't know how to do that. Black and white are two of the hardest things to actually base something in. So I'm actually making something that's a white robed figure right now. So I just decided to base it in a very light gray, and I'll highlight it with white. I don't think you should ever use a base color of black or white unless you know what you're doing. I may be wrong. This is just my personal experience, but I don't suggest it because I'm not sure how to highlight it, and washes don't work on black for obvious reasons. So unless you use extreme like gray highlights on the black, or if it's a dark blue, you can use like higher blue colors. It's up to you because you're the artist. Look at it from the top down, because zenithal highlights it's very nice. If you have a picture of reference, like I did for Doctor Strange, I did the zenithal highlights. I did the zenithal highlights. I took a picture of it, and then I was using the picture as reference as I was painting it. That was very easy for me to show where the brightest highlights will be, because the brightest highlights will be on the top where the sun is, because zenithal highlights means the sun is in zenith above your miniature. Because typically what you want the lighting to be for your miniature is a nice cloudy-ish day where the sun is just coming out, so it's just enough light to make it look realistic, but not too much that you look like it's in a volcano, you know? So look at it from the top down. If you don't know where the highlights should be, you just take the mini and then look at it extremely top down, and then you'll see exactly where all the highlights will go. Typically, your first layer will cover a lot more than you think, and the base color will then become your darkest sections of the mini, if that makes sense. Make sure that you have a light source. Even if it's just the sun, make sure you know where the light that's cascading onto your mini is coming from. Even if it's the sun. Just the sun is, okay, say this is the sun. I am a miniature now. The sun is this light. This is where the light is coming. It's coming from this down. This is where the light will be hitting, right in my forehead. And the rest of it will be darker than the rest of that. So the brighter your highlights get, the further up your face it'll go until it stops right here, where the brightest will be. If you wanted to be extra, you can do something called object source lighting. Object source lighting is where you have a light source on your miniature itself. Pennywise is something I did like that, right at the bottom there. The second photo, I decided to have a glowing green light coming from the bottom. So the source of light is actually below him, which is not something that you usually do for a miniature, so I had to take a picture of that. But that was actually a fun time. Some of them, I actually had the Reaper in the past, the other picture there, I have them up there. I had a scythe glowing blue, so all the highlights would go brighter towards the scythe and more blue. So the closer to the scythe it would be, the much brighter it would be. That's object source lighting. It's hard. Trust me, it's so hard. And don't get too extreme. You don't want to use, I say you use a base color and then you add lighter in. Never use white as the lighter, unless you're using light gray and then you add white to make it brighter. Don't use white, use a lighter color of the base color, because that will always bring it together as one cohesive color. I mean, that's not what I did for the gazer, but shut up. It'll bring it together as a cohesive color and it'll make it look very nice So don't use white unless you want to, unless you know it's going to be very bright. Step 4, the finishing touches. Finishing touches are so much fun. I love them. But they're one of the parts of the mini that you need to know exactly what you're going to do before you start. Because look at both of these. I had a sheen on Captain America's shield, which could look way better than it does. It doesn't look better than it does, but it could. I could have done better. And the Spectator has, I wanted to have black veins running down his eyes, you know, like undead almost. So I looked up reference pictures for both of these, and it turned out like really well. You want to be very careful with finishing touches, because finishing touches are usually the step where if you make a mistake, you're not going to be able to fix it very easily. Sometimes you won't even be able to fix it at all. It's so stressful. Finishing touches they can bring minis so much life, but you have to be so careful. But look up reference pictures for what you want to do for them. You'll want to know what you're doing beforehand. The reference pictures will always help. Trust me, they will. And just have fun. Just have fun, because finishing touches are so fun. They can add something so exciting to your mini. It's just a good time. And finally, there's basing. This is one of my best bases I've ever made or ever will make, because I spent so much time on it. I did that for a commission. I don't even have that anymore. I wish I did. I want to look at it again. But anyway, basing. Usually won't be as extreme as that. That base is a lot bigger. It's a lot bigger than most minis, because that's the base of a gargantuan dragon, one of the biggest minis you can get. You want to know what you want to do. Sometimes basing can just be you put a basing paste on there, let it dry, and then maybe dry brush it. That's it. That's all you got to do for most of them. But some of them you can buy. Like for that, I actually went to a comic book store and I bought some skeleton minis, and I literally just hacked them up with a tiny knife and just glued them to the base like fallen heroes that this dragon has slain. And that was just a fun idea for me. I could go way in depth about that base. That's just something that's just complicated. But anyway, you'll want to buy supplies such as pieces of minis you want to use, basing pastes, texture paints. Oh, you could even get War Painter has, hang on, it's right over here. Omni Painter Battlefields has some of these, which are like, you can get them as gravel, or there's grass, there's ash, there's like clumps of grass. You can get different types of textures of battlefield that you want if you wanted it for different people. Like for the dragon, it was a volcano. For Captain America, it was like forest floor almost, with clumps of grass and pieces of rocks everywhere. So it'll be up to you again. It really helps sell the miniature. It brings it together. Even if you just paint the base black, never leave it unpainted. It will always look better painted. Tutorials, YouTube tutorials, use them. They're so nice. Miniac or Sarastro painting, I love them. Stunning, love them. Play around with things on a different surface first. If you don't know exactly what you're doing and you don't want to mess up your mini, you can always take a piece of cardboard or just paper or a canvas and practice. That's what I did for my sunset dragon. I decided to make a dragon based on the colors of a sunset and the constellation. So I used a canvas and I tested the gradient out and what I could do for constellations on it. That was a finishing touch, obviously. But if you don't know exactly what it's going to look like and you're afraid of messing up, always you can test it on a different mini. You can test it on a piece of cardboard, just anything at all. It'll be so nice. Be patient. Be very patient. Bases can take some of the longest time, because look at the picture at the bottom there. That was step 2, and the one up there, that was probably like step 10, because it had to dry. I did some more coats. I did washes for shadows. I did object source lighting. I filled in the lava with texture. I did painting on the lava. I did washes and dry brush and so many colors. It took, I think, a day altogether. It's an experience. Texture paints, external pieces, fake grass and rocks, real grass and rocks, etc. Those are things that you can add. I already talked about those. You can get texture paints like Sterling Mud from Citadel, very nice. If you can go to like a Michael's or a craft store and get little miniature clumps of grass or pieces of sand, anything like that. Or you can even go outside and get your own like real ones, add them to your mini for a little bit of authenticity. That's always fun. And again, have fun. It's such a good time. You can have so much fun with minis. It's so artistically freeing. It's great. Is this the last thing on my list? Yeah. So this is, hang on, this isn't the slide that I made. How did, what? They were all supposed to be the same color. I'm confused. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. This was a good time. I hope you learned something. I hope you can teach me something. I don't even know if there's anybody watching. I haven't actually been looking. I should probably check. Did I check? No, it's still just me. I have 60 subscribers. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you did, then I run a small business called Eye of the Beholder. You can see it right there. There's my email. There's my Facebook. You can see me on YouTube. I have a website. I have commissions on page. I do painting commissions. I'll do your D&D party. Anything that you see that can be painted, like I'll repaint anything I want. I love painting. Game pieces. You know those like collectible pieces that you get on top of cups in the movie sometimes? That's where I got Doctor Strange, Captain America, and Pennywise. It's just so much fun to paint. I'll paint anything you like, anything you want. We can talk about it. And I just hope I can work with you in the future. So thanks for watching this video. Bye. Well, it's going to be awkward for a second because where's the stop stream button? Oh, I found it. Yes. Okay. Bye.